Stop faking for attention. Brittany screams, shoving my wheelchair. I hit the marble floor hard. My legs twist beneath me at angles that make people gasp. The champagne flutes stop clinking. 200 engagement party guests stare in horrified silence. See, she's fine. My sister towers over me, her designer dress shimmering under the chandeliers. She can walk perfectly well. She just uses that wheelchair to make everything about her. Miss Hayes, a man's voice cuts through the ballroom like a knife. Cold, professional, furious. Step away from your sister, now. I look up through tears. Dr. Richard Chen, my neurologist, is walking toward us, still wearing his name tag from the medical conference downtown. Invited to this party by Brittany's fiancé, whose father runs the hospital where Dr. Chen works. Brittany's face drains of color. I didn't know you were here, obviously. Dr. Chen kneels beside me, his hands already assessing the damage. Jenna, can you feel your legs right now? I shake my head. The numbness has set in. The disconnect between my brain and my body that happens when the pain gets too intense. Dr. Chen looks up at my sister, at the 200 guests, at Brittany's fiancé, whose mouth is hanging open in shock. Your sister has complex regional pain syndrome, stage 3, progressive. Her condition causes her nervous system to interpret normal sensations as severe pain. Some days she can walk. Some days standing feels like her legs are being burned alive. Today was a bad day, which is why she used her wheelchair. He stands, positioning himself between Brittany and me like a shield. And you just assaulted a disabled woman in front of 200 witnesses because you thought she was faking for attention. Brittany's perfect engagement party is about to become something very different. But let me back up. Let me tell you about the years my sister spent calling me a faker, and what happened when she finally pushed me too far. Literally. I was not always in a wheelchair. 3 years ago, I was a competitive dancer. Modern dance, ballet, contemporary. I did it all. I had just been accepted into a prestigious dance company in New York. My life was exactly what I had worked for. Then I had a minor car accident. Minor? That is what everyone called it. A fender bender in a parking lot. I broke my ankle. Clean break. Should have healed in 6 weeks. It did not heal in 6 weeks. The pain stayed. Worse than before. My ankle swelled, turned purple, felt hot to the touch. The skin became so sensitive that even a bedsheet brushing against it made me scream. It's just taking longer to heal, the first doctor said. Give it time. I gave it time. 3 months, 6 months. The pain spread up my leg, then to the other leg. My body was attacking itself. My nervous system misfiring, sending pain signals that had no physical cause. Finally, I got the diagnosis. Complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, one of the most painful chronic conditions known to medicine. The McGill Pain Index ranks it higher than childbirth, amputation, and cancer pain. There is no cure, only management. Pain medication, physical therapy, nerve blocks, sometimes surgery. Even then, it is a lottery. Some people recover, some people get worse. I got worse. By year 2, I had good days and bad days. Good days, I could walk with a cane. Bad days, standing made me want to vomit from pain. I started using a wheelchair on bad days, then most days, then almost every day. My dance career ended before it began. The company in New York gave my spot to someone else. I moved back home to live with my parents because I could not work full-time anymore. My younger sister Brittany was 24, newly engaged, and absolutely convinced I was faking everything for attention. It's just pain, she would say. Everyone has pain. You're being dramatic, Brittany. I have a diagnosed medical condition. Yeah, a syndrome. That's what doctors call it when they can't find anything actually wrong with you. It's all in your head. This became her constant refrain, that I was faking, exaggerating, making everything about me, stealing attention from her engagement, her wedding planning, her life. You always do this, she said when I could not attend her engagement dress shopping because I was having a pain flare. Whenever something good happens to me, suddenly you're too sick to participate. It's so obvious. I'm not faking. Then why can you walk sometimes but not others? If you were really disabled, you'd be in the wheelchair all the time. You just use it when you want sympathy. I tried explaining. CRPS is variable. Some days the pain is manageable. Some days it is not. That is how the condition works. She did not believe me, refused to believe me, because in Brittany's world, I was the older sister who had always been good at everything: dance, school, relationships. And now I was faking a disability to steal her spotlight. Our parents tried to mediate. Brittany, your sister has a real medical condition. You need to be more understanding. Understanding? She's ruining my engagement. Every time we have a family dinner, it's all about Jenna and her pain. When we went to look at wedding venues, she couldn't come because of a flare-up. It's always something with her. Because I have a chronic pain condition that doesn't follow your schedule. No, because you're jealous that I'm getting married and you're not. So you're making yourself sick for attention. That was Brittany's theory. That my illness was psychosomatic. That I had made myself sick, subconsciously or consciously. She was not sure which. Because I could not handle her being happy. Never mind that I had been happy for her, had congratulated her on her engagement, had tried to help with wedding planning when I could. None of that mattered to Brittany. In her mind, I was the faker, the attention seeker, the sister who could not stand to let her have her moment. And she made sure everyone knew it. The engagement party was Brittany's idea. A huge, elaborate affair at the country club, 200 guests, a 7-piece band, an ice sculpture, the works. I was invited, obviously. I was her sister, but Brittany made it clear she expected me to make an effort. Please tell me you're not bringing the wheelchair, she said a week before the party. Brittany, it's a bad pain week. I need the wheelchair. You need to try harder. This is my engagement party, my special day. Can you please, for once, not make it about you? Using a mobility aid is not making it about me. It is when you don't actually need it. People are going to see you in that wheelchair and it is going to be all anyone talks about. Oh, what happened to Jenna? Oh, poor Jenna. I'm sick of it. Then don't invite me. I can't not invite my own sister. What would people think? No, so you want me there. But you want me to pretend I'm not disabled? You're not disabled. You have some pain. Take an Advil and deal with it like an adult. I hung up on her. Did not talk to her for 3 days. Finally, Mom called. Please just come to the party, honey. Use whatever mobility aids you need. Brittany will get over it. She thinks I'm faking, Mom. I know. And she's wrong. But she's stressed about the wedding. Just try to give her some grace. I always had to give Brittany grace. Had to understand her stress, her feelings, her needs. No one ever asked Brittany to give me grace. I went to the party, wore a nice dress, did my makeup. And yes, I brought my wheelchair because it was a bad pain day and I physically could not stand for more than a few minutes. The country club was beautiful, elegant, expensive. Brittany had clearly spent a fortune making everything perfect. I arrived with my parents, wheeled myself through the marble-floored ballroom, tried to stay out of the way, near the edges of the room where I would not be in anyone's path. Brittany saw me immediately. Her face tightened. She smiled for the guests, but I could see the anger in her eyes. She was furious I had brought the wheelchair. For the first hour, I stayed quiet, talked to a few family members, congratulated Brittany's fiancé, Marcus, who was actually a nice guy and had always been kind to me. How are you doing? He asked, crouching down to my eye level. Brittany mentioned you've been having a tough time with the pain lately. Some days are better than others. Today's not great, but I'm managing. Well, I'm glad you're here. It means a lot. At least someone appreciated my presence. Then came the speeches, toasts from parents, friends, Marcus's best man. Everyone celebrating Brittany and Marcus's love. I was sitting near the back, trying to be invisible, when I saw Brittany's face change. She was looking at me, staring at me with this expression of pure hatred. No, because people were glancing at me, not out of pity, just normal, casual glances. The way you look at people in a room. But to Brittany, any attention on me was attention stolen from her. She walked over, champagne glass in hand, leaned down to whisper in my ear, "Can you at least try not to look so pathetic? You're ruining my photos." I'm sitting in the back corner. I'm not in anyone's way. You're in a wheelchair, at my party. Do you have any idea how that looks? It looks like your sister is disabled and came to celebrate with you anyway. It looks like you're trying to upstage me. Like always, Brittany, I'm literally sitting in a corner not talking to anyone. And yet everyone keeps looking at you, feeling sorry for you. This is my day. She was drunk, not falling down drunk, but enough to lower her inhibitions, enough to say what she actually thought. I'm sorry people are looking at me. No, you're not. You love it. You love being the victim, the poor sick sister who needs everyone's sympathy. That's not true. It is true. You've been milking this fake illness for 2 years, playing the victim, making everything about you. Well, not today. Today is about me. She grabbed the handles of my wheelchair, started pushing me toward the center of the ballroom. Brittany, stop. I'm done tiptoeing around your feelings. I'm done pretending you're actually sick. Everyone needs to know the truth. We reached the middle of the room. The band stopped playing. People turned to look. Everyone, can I have your attention? Brittany's voice was loud, sharp, cutting through the chatter. I need to address something. My sister Jenna has been using this wheelchair for 2 years. She claims she has some kind of chronic pain condition, but the truth is, she's faking. She can walk perfectly fine. She just uses this chair to get attention. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother stood up from her table. Brittany, stop. No, Mom. I'm done enabling her. Jenna has always needed to be the center of attention. She was the dancer, the achiever, the golden child. And now that I'm getting married, she can't stand it. So she made herself sick. Or she's pretending to be sick. Either way, it's manipulation. Tears were streaming down my face. Not from physical pain, from humiliation, from betrayal. Brittany, please, stand up, Jenna. Show everyone you can walk. I can't. Yes, you can. You just don't want to. Because if you stand up, you lose all that precious sympathy. She yanked me forward, tried to pull me out of the chair. I grabbed the armrest, trying to stay seated. Stop. You're hurting me. Oh, stop being so dramatic. You're not hurt. You're just a liar. And then she shoved, hard, both hands against my chest. I toppled forward, hit the marble floor face first. My legs crumpled beneath me. My dress hiked up, exposing the scars on my legs from nerve block procedures. Pain exploded through my body. Not the corpse pain. That was already there, always there. But new pain, impact pain. My wrist, my shoulder, my hip. The ballroom erupted. People screaming, my mother crying out, Marcus running toward us, and Brittany standing over me triumphant. See, she's fine. She's not even Miss Hayes. That voice, cold, professional, authoritative. Dr. Richard Chen, my neurologist, walking across the ballroom toward us. I had forgotten he would be here. Marcus's father was a hospital administrator. Dr. Chen had been invited as a professional courtesy. He had been at a medical conference downtown and came to the party straight from there, still wearing his conference name tag. Brittany's face went white. Dr. Chen, I didn't know you were here, obviously. Dr. Chen knelt beside me. His hands were gentle but efficient, checking me over. Jenna, can you feel your legs right now? I shook my head. The numbness had set in, full dissociation. My brain had cut off sensation to protect me from the pain. That's what I thought. He looked up at Brittany, at the crowd, at Marcus, who looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Your sister has complex regional pain syndrome, stage 3, progressive. Do you know what that means? Brittany said nothing, just stood there frozen. It means her nervous system is damaged. It interprets normal sensations as extreme pain. Touch can feel like burning. Standing can feel like her bones are breaking. There is no cure, only management. And it is rated as one of the most painful conditions in medical science. He stood up, positioning himself between me and Brittany. Your sister is not faking. She is not exaggerating. She has a documented, diagnosed medical condition that I have been treating for 2 years. And you just assaulted her in front of 200 witnesses because you thought she was lying. The silence in the ballroom was deafening. I use a wheelchair on bad days, I said quietly from the floor. Because on bad days, standing feels like my legs are on fire. Today was a bad day. That's why I brought my wheelchair. Not for attention. Because I physically cannot walk without excruciating pain. Dr. Chen called for an ambulance. Someone brought ice for my wrist, which was already swelling. My mother was beside me, crying, apologizing for not stopping Brittany sooner. And Brittany just stood there, staring at me, at Dr. Chen, at the crowd of guests who were no longer looking at her with celebration but with disgust. Her perfect engagement party was ruined, but not because of me, because of her. The ambulance came. Paramedics carefully transferred me to a stretcher. Dr. Chen rode with me to the hospital, explaining to the staff what had happened. Patient has CURPS stage 3, was forcibly pushed from her wheelchair. Likely trauma to wrist, possible shoulder injury. Pain levels will be difficult to assess due to baseline CURPS pain and current neural dissociation. They admitted me overnight for observation, ran x-rays. My wrist was sprained, not broken. My shoulder was badly bruised. My legs, always my legs, were in a severe flare. The Kerp's pain intensified by the trauma and stress. They gave me 4 pain medication, adjusted my prescriptions, scheduled a follow-up with Dr. Chen. My parents came to the hospital. Mom was devastated. Dad was furious. I can't believe she did that, Dad said, in front of everyone, at her own party. She's been saying I was faking for 2 years, I said quietly. She finally decided to prove it. Well, she proved something, just not what she thought. Mom was crying. I should have stopped her sooner. I saw her drinking, saw her getting angry. I should have intervened. It's not your fault, Mom. This was Brittany's choice. Brittany did not come to the hospital, did not call, did not text, but Marcus did. He showed up at 10 p.m., still in his suit from the party, looking exhausted and devastated. I'm so sorry, he said. I had no idea Brittany thought you were faking. She never told me. If I had known she was going to do something like that, it's not your fault either. I canceled the rest of the party, sent everyone home. It just felt wrong to keep celebrating after. After that, how's Brittany? Honestly, I don't know. She locked herself in the bathroom after you left. Won't talk to anyone. I think she's in shock. She should be in shock. She assaulted me in front of 200 people. I know. And I told her that. Told her what she did was unforgivable. He rubbed his face. I don't know what happens now. I love her, but I don't know if I can marry someone who would do that to their own sister. I felt bad for Marcus. He was a good guy. He did not deserve to be caught in the middle of this. But he was right. What Brittany did was unforgivable. The hospital released me the next morning. I went home with my parents, not to the apartment I had been renting before I got sick. I was too fragile, too vulnerable to be alone. The pain flare lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of barely being able to move, of crying from pain, of needing help with everything because even the lightest touch felt like agony. Kerps is cruel like that. Stress makes it worse. Trauma makes it worse. And being pushed out of my wheelchair at my sister's engagement party definitely qualified as trauma. During those 3 weeks, Brittany did not contact me. Not once, but other people did. Family members, friends of the family, people who had been at the party. I had no idea you were actually sick. Brittany always made it sound like you were exaggerating. What she did was horrible. I'm so sorry. Is there anything we can do? The story spread, not because I told anyone, but because 200 people had witnessed it. And in the age of smartphones, at least a dozen people had been recording when Brittany pushed me. The video went viral, not nationally, but locally, within our community, within our social circle. Everyone saw it. Brittany yelling at me, pushing me hitting the floor, Dr. Chen intervening, and everyone had an opinion. Most people were horrified, called Brittany abusive, called her cruel, said she should be arrested for assault. Some people, Brittany's close friends mostly, tried to defend her. She was drunk. She made a mistake. She didn't know Jenna was really sick. But even those defenses fell flat, because Dr. Chen had explained publicly, in front of everyone, exactly what Kerps was. And anyone with a smartphone could Google it and see that it was real. Documented, devastating. Brittany could not claim ignorance anymore, could not say I was faking. The medical evidence was there. The doctor's testimony was there. The videos were there. She was just wrong and cruel, and now everyone knew it. 3 weeks after the party, I was finally well enough to leave the house. I had an appointment with Dr. Chen, follow-up after the trauma, assessment of the pain flare. How are you doing? He asked, his voice gentler than it had been at the party. Better than I was. Still in a lot of pain, but it's coming down to baseline levels. Good. And emotionally, that was a traumatic experience. I'm angry and hurt, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive my sister. That's understandable. What she did was assault. You would be well within your rights to press charges. I had thought about it. In the hospital, the social worker had asked if I wanted to file a police report. I had said no, not yet. I needed time to think. I don't want to press charges, I said now. I just want her to leave me alone. Have you had any contact with her since the party? No, she hasn't called, hasn't texted, nothing. How do you feel about that? Relieved mostly. I don't know what I would say to her if she did reach out. Dr. Chen nodded. I want to talk to you about something else. The video from the party has been circulating online. Several media outlets have reached out to me for comment. I've declined, of course, patient privacy and all that, but I wanted you to know it's out there. I know. People have been sending me links. How do you feel about that? Honestly, vindicated. For 2 years, Brittany has been telling people I was faking. Now everyone knows she was wrong. There's some satisfaction in that, but it also feels invasive. That was one of the worst moments of my life, and now it's entertainment for strangers. Would you like me to release a statement? Nothing specific about your case, but general information about CURPS? It might help educate people. Actually, yes. I think that would be good. Maybe some good can come out of this if people learn about CURPS. Dr. Chen did release a statement, a brief educational piece about what CURPS was, how it was diagnosed, why it was often misunderstood. He did not mention me by name, but everyone knew who he was talking about. But the statement went viral too, shared by chronic pain advocacy groups, medical organizations, disability rights activists. Suddenly, I was the face of invisible illness, the example of why you should never assume someone is faking. I did not ask for that role, but I accepted it. I started getting messages on social media from other people with CURPS, from people with other invisible illnesses, people who had been accused of faking, people whose families did not believe them. Thank you for standing up to your sister. You're so brave. Your story gave me the courage to cut off my family member who doesn't believe I am sick. I had not meant to start a movement, but apparently I had. And through all of this, Brittany remained silent. No apology, no explanation, nothing. Until 6 weeks after the party, when she finally called. Jenna, it's me. I almost hung up, stared at Brittany's name on my phone screen for several seconds before answering. What do you want? I want to apologize. Can we talk? In person? No, Jenna, please. I know what I did was wrong. I want to make it right. You can't make it right. You assaulted me in front of 200 people because you thought I was faking a medical condition. There's nothing you can say that will make that okay. I was wrong. I know that now. I was drunk and stressed and I wasn't thinking. You've been saying I was faking for 2 years. This wasn't just one drunk moment. This was you finally acting on what you'd been thinking all along. Silence. Then quietly, you're right. I have been saying that. And I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Why are you sorry now? Because you got caught? Because everyone saw the video? Because Dr. Chen humiliated you? No, because I hurt you. My own sister, the person I'm supposed to love and protect. And I hurt you because I was jealous and selfish and couldn't see past my own ego. Jealous of what? My chronic pain condition? My disability? Jealous of the attention. You're right. That's how I saw it. Every family dinner was about your health. Every event had to accommodate your needs. And I felt invisible, like I didn't matter. So you decided I was faking, yes. Because that was easier than accepting that my sister was actually sick and needed support. I'm so sorry, Jenna. I'm so sorry. Part of me wanted to accept the apology, to believe she was genuinely remorseful, to rebuild our relationship. But a bigger part of me remembered lying on that marble floor, remembered the humiliation, the pain, the betrayal. I can't forgive you right now, I said. Maybe someday, but not now. I understand. Can I do anything to start making amends? You can tell everyone the truth. Everyone you told I was faking. Post publicly that you were wrong. Acknowledge what you did. I will. I'll do that today. And you can leave me alone. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I need space. Okay, I'll give you space. But Jenna, I really am sorry. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make this right. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone, feeling nothing. No relief, no forgiveness, just emptiness. 2 hours later, Brittany posted on Facebook, a long post, public, visible to everyone. I need to publicly apologize to my sister, Jenna. At my engagement party 6 weeks ago, I accused her of faking her disability and physically pushed her out of her wheelchair. This was cruel, abusive, and completely wrong. Jenna has complex regional pain syndrome, a documented medical condition that causes severe chronic pain. She is not faking. She never was. I was jealous, selfish, and willfully ignorant of her suffering. I let my own ego convince me that her illness was about me, when it was actually about her very real pain and disability. I'm sorry, Jenna. I'm sorry to everyone who witnessed what I did. And I am sorry to everyone in the chronic illness community who I hurt by perpetuating the myth that people fake disabilities for attention. I was wrong about everything. The post got hundreds of comments, most praising her for apologizing, some saying it was too little too late, a few from her friends expressing shock that she would admit fault so publicly. I read it once, did not react, did not comment, just let it exist. The apology was a start, but it was not enough. Because while Brittany was posting apologies, I was meeting with a lawyer, not to press criminal charges, but to do something else, something that would make sure Brittany never forgot what she had done. The lawyer's name was Patricia Huang. She specialized in disability rights cases. Tell me what happened, she said, pen poised over her notepad. I told her everything. The years of accusations, the engagement party, the assault, the aftermath. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she set down her pen. You have a strong case for a civil lawsuit, assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, possibly disability discrimination, though that's harder to prove in a family context. I don't want money from my sister. Then what do you want? I want her to understand, really understand, what it's like to live with CURPS, what she did to me. I want consequences that matter. Patricia leaned back in her chair. There are some creative options. We could pursue a settlement that includes mandatory education, requiring her to volunteer with disability organizations, to attend chronic pain support groups as an observer, to do public advocacy work. Would that actually work? Could we legally require that? If she agrees to it as part of a settlement, yes. The alternative would be going to trial, which would be expensive and public and traumatic for both of you. Most people choose to settle, and if she doesn't agree to the terms, then we go to trial. And given that there's video evidence and a doctor's testimony, I think we'd win. But it would be ugly. I thought about it. Imagine Brittany sitting in a courtroom watching the video of her pushing me, listening to Dr. Chen testify about CURPS, hearing me describe the pain, the humiliation, the betrayal. It would hurt her, but would it change her? I want to try the settlement first, with the education requirements. If she actually learns something, if she actually grows from this, then maybe something good comes out of it. And if she refuses, then we go to trial. Patricia drafted a settlement proposal. It was extensive. 1. A formal written apology to be published in the local newspaper. 2. 50 hours of volunteer work with a chronic pain support organization. 3. Attendance at 10 chronic illness support group meetings as an observer. 4. A donation of $10,000 to the CURPS Research Foundation. 5. No contact with me unless I initiated it. 6. Completion of an educational course on disability rights and invisible illnesses. All of it to be completed within 1 year. If Brittany failed to meet any requirement, I could pursue a civil lawsuit with no settlement option. Patricia sent the proposal to Brittany's lawyer. Because yes, Brittany had hired a lawyer as soon as she realized I was considering legal action. We waited. 3 days later, Brittany's lawyer called. My client wants to meet with your client in person to discuss the settlement. Absolutely not, I said immediately. That's the whole point of having lawyers. I don't want to see her. But Patricia thought differently. Actually, it might be good. Let her see you. Let her make her case. If nothing else, it'll give you closure. I reluctantly agreed. We set up a meeting at Patricia's office. Neutral ground, lawyers present. Brittany showed up looking terrible. She had lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes, looked like she had not slept in weeks. Good. We sat across from each other at a conference table, lawyers on either side. The settlement proposal between us. Hi, Brittany said quietly. Hi, I've been reading about CURPS since the party. I've been reading everything I can find. Research articles, patient stories, medical textbooks. Okay, I had no idea. I mean, I knew you said you were in pain, but I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand how bad it was, how real it was. I told you. For 2 years, I told you over and over. I know. And I didn't listen. I didn't want to listen. Because if I accepted that you were really sick, then I had to accept that I was being horrible to you. And that was too hard to face. So instead you called me a faker and pushed me out of my wheelchair. She flinched. Yes. And I will regret that for the rest of my life. Good. Brittany looked down at the settlement proposal. This is fair. More than fair. I'll do all of it. The volunteer work, the support groups, the donation, everything. You'll actually do it? Not just agree to it and then half-ass your way through? I'll actually do it because I want to understand. I want to be better. And I want to make sure no one else goes through what you went through because of me. I studied her face, looked for signs she was lying, manipulating, trying to get out of consequences. But I only saw genuine remorse and exhaustion and shame. There's one more thing I want added to the settlement, I said. Anything. I want you to speak publicly to other families about what you did and why it was wrong. I want you to be the cautionary tale, the example of what not to do when someone you love has an invisible illness. Brittany went pale. You want me to talk about this? Publicly? Yes, because there are thousands of families out there with the same dynamic. Someone who's sick, someone who doesn't believe them. I want you to help prevent that, to use what you did, as horrible as it was, to educate people. Okay, yes, I'll do that too. Patricia added it to the settlement. Brittany signed, I signed, and just like that, my sister's education began. 6 months into the settlement, Brittany was required to give her first public talk. It was at a disability rights conference, a panel about family dynamics and invisible illness. Brittany was one of 3 speakers. The others were patients sharing their experiences with unsupportive families. I was not required to attend, but I wanted to. Needed to see if she was actually learning or just going through the motions. I sat in the back of the conference room, watched Brittany walk onto the stage. She looked nervous, terrified actually. The moderator introduced her. Our next speaker has a unique perspective. Rather than being the patient, she's the family member who didn't believe her sister's diagnosis. Brittany, thank you for being willing to share your story. Brittany took the microphone with shaking hands. Hi, my name is Brittany, and 6 months ago, I assaulted my disabled sister at my engagement party because I thought she was faking her illness for attention. The room went silent. I'm not here to make excuses. What I did was abusive and wrong, but I am here to explain how I got there, because I think a lot of families fall into the same trap I did. She took a breath. My sister Jenna was always the golden child, good at everything, dance, school, relationships. And then she got sick, diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome after a car accident. Suddenly, family dinners were about her health. Family events had to accommodate her needs. And I felt invisible, so I convinced myself she was faking. Not because there was any evidence. There was actually plenty of evidence she was really sick. Medical records, doctor's visits, visible symptoms. But I didn't want to see it, because if she was really sick, then I was being cruel. And I didn't want to be the villain. Someone in the audience nodded. Another person wiped their eyes. I spent 2 years calling her a faker, telling family members she was exaggerating, rolling my eyes when she needed accommodations. And it all culminated at my engagement party, where I got drunk and pushed her out of her wheelchair in front of 200 people. Brittany's voice cracked. Her neurologist was there, Dr. Richard Chen. He saw everything, and he told everyone, publicly, what CURPS actually is, how painful it is, how real it is. And I realized in that moment that I had been torturing my sister for 2 years because I couldn't handle not being the center of attention. She wiped her eyes. Since then, I've been doing volunteer work with chronic pain support groups. I've sat in on meetings and listened to patients talk about their families not believing them, about being called fakers, about being pushed to do things that cause them severe pain because someone thought they were exaggerating. And every single story, I heard myself. I heard my words coming out of their family members' mouths. I saw my actions reflected in their pain. The room was completely silent now. I am sharing this because I want other family members to understand something I didn't. Invisible doesn't mean fake. Just because you can't see someone's pain doesn't mean it's not real. Just because someone can do something one day and not the next doesn't mean they're lying. It means they have a variable condition. My sister has CURPS. Some days she can walk. Some days standing feels like her legs are on fire. That's not inconsistency. That's how the condition works. And I was too self-centered to learn that. Too jealous to care. Brittany looked directly at the audience. If you have a family member with an invisible illness, please believe them. Please educate yourself. Please don't make the same mistake I did. Because I destroyed my relationship with my sister, humiliated her publicly, and caused her months of additional pain because I couldn't see past my own ego. I'm lucky. My sister gave me a chance to make amends, to learn, to grow. Not everyone gets that chance. Don't wait until you've pushed someone out of their wheelchair to realize you were wrong. She sat down. The room erupted in applause. People stood up. Several were crying. I sat in the back, tears streaming down my face, not because I was ready to forgive her, but because she finally understood, finally got it. After 6 months of volunteer work, support groups, and education, Brittany finally understood what I had been trying to tell her for 2 years. After the panel, people surrounded Brittany, thanking her for her honesty, sharing their own stories. Some were angry, patients who had been hurt by family members like her, but most were grateful because her story was the cautionary tale they needed to share with their own families. I waited until the crowd cleared. Then I wheeled over to where she was standing. Jenna. She looked startled. I didn't know you were here. I needed to see if you were actually learning or just performing. And you're learning. Relief washed over her face. Thank you for giving me this chance, for the settlement, for forcing me to actually educate myself. I know I don't deserve any of it. You don't, but maybe you'll help other families avoid what we went through. Maybe some good will come out of this. I hope so. I really hope so. We stood there in awkward silence. Two sisters with years of damage between us. I'm not ready to have a relationship with you, I said finally. I don't know if I ever will be. What you did was too big, too hurtful. I understand, but I'm glad you're doing the work. I'm glad you're learning, and I'm glad you're using your experience to help others. It's the least I can do. I nodded, turned my wheelchair to leave. Jenna, Brittany called after me. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. For standing up to me, for setting boundaries, for demanding better. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. I didn't respond, just wheeled away, but something in my chest loosened slightly. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but it was acknowledgement. And that was a start. Over the next 6 months, Brittany completed the rest of her settlement requirements. She volunteered at the chronic pain clinic where I received treatment, helped organize support groups, assisted with administrative work. The staff told me she was dedicated, punctual, genuinely engaged with the patients. She attended every required support group meeting, sat quietly and listened to patients share their struggles, their pain, their experiences with unsupportive families. She made the $10,000 donation to the Kerps Research Foundation in my name, which I hadn't requested, but appreciated. And she gave 4 more public talks at medical conferences, patient advocacy events, disability rights seminars. Each talk got better, more nuanced, more impactful. She wasn't just reciting facts anymore. She was genuinely trying to change minds, to prevent other families from making her mistakes. The engagement to Marcus fell apart. He tried to make it work, but the incident had revealed something about Brittany he couldn't unsee. They broke up 3 months after the party. Brittany didn't blame me, didn't blame him, just accepted it as a consequence of her actions. I ruined my own engagement, she told our mother. Not Jenna, me. Mom tried to facilitate reconciliation between us several times. Family dinners, holidays, birthday parties. I declined most of them. I wasn't ready, might never be ready, but I did agree to Thanksgiving, one meal, with the whole family. 8 months after the engagement party. It was awkward, stilted. Brittany and I barely spoke, but we were civil, respectful. She didn't try to hug me or force intimacy, just existed in the same space without conflict. Progress. Dad pulled me aside after dinner. I'm proud of how you've handled this. Setting boundaries, demanding accountability. That takes real strength. Thanks, Dad. And I'm sorry I didn't protect you better. I saw how Brittany was treating you and I should have intervened sooner. Should have made her understand how serious your condition was. You tried. She didn't want to hear it. Still, I'm your father. I should have done more. I hugged him, let myself be held, let myself feel supported in a way I hadn't in years. By the 1-year mark, Brittany had completed all settlement requirements. Patricia sent me the final documentation. Everything checked off, everything fulfilled. What happens now? I asked. Now? Nothing. The settlement is complete. You're under no obligation to have any relationship with your sister unless you choose to. And if I choose not to, then that's your right. You set boundaries. She violated them catastrophically. You don't owe her forgiveness. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about whether I wanted Brittany in my life going forward. The answer was complicated. I didn't want the old Brittany, the one who called me a faker, who couldn't see past her own jealousy, who pushed me out of my wheelchair, but this new Brittany, the one who volunteered at chronic pain clinics, who gave talks about invisible illness, who genuinely seemed to understand what she'd done. Maybe there was room for her. Eventually, I called Brittany. First time I'd initiated contact in a year. "Hi," I said when she answered. "Hi." She sounded shocked, nervous. "I saw you completed the settlement requirements." "Yeah, finished last week." "How do you feel?" "Exhausted, educated. Like I understand things I should have understood 2 years ago. Maybe my whole life." "Good." Silence. Then, "Does this mean?" "It doesn't mean we have a relationship. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it means I'm open to the possibility. Someday, if you keep doing the work, I will. I promise." "Don't promise me anything. Just be better. And maybe eventually, we can figure out what a relationship between us looks like, okay?" "Thank you, Jenna, for everything." "Don't thank me. I didn't do this for you. I did it for me. And for everyone else who has to deal with family members who don't believe they are sick. I know. And I'm grateful anyway." I hung up, sat in my wheelchair in my apartment, looked at the scars on my legs from nerve procedures, felt the ever-present burn of corpse pain. My sister had pushed me out of my wheelchair, had called me a faker, had humiliated me in front of 200 people, and I had made her face consequences, real consequences that actually changed her. Was it revenge? Maybe, but it was also justice, and education, and protection for other patients who might cross her path in the future. Brittany learned what CURPS actually was, what invisible illness actually meant, what it felt like to be called a liar when you are telling the truth about your own body. She would never truly understand my pain. No one could without living it themselves. But she understood enough. Finally, after a year of forced education and public accountability. It's been 2 years since the engagement party, since Brittany pushed me out of my wheelchair and Dr. Chen revealed the truth to 200 horrified guests. I'm 29 now, still living with CURPS, still in pain every day, still using my wheelchair on bad days and a cane on good days. But I'm also stronger, more confident in advocating for myself, less willing to accept mistreatment from anyone, family included. Brittany and I have a relationship now. Not the sisterly bond we had before I got sick, but something new, built on honesty and accountability rather than obligation and resentment. We have coffee once a month. She never questions when I show up in my wheelchair, never suggests I'm exaggerating, never treats my disability as an inconvenience. She still does advocacy work, gives talks, volunteers. It's become part of her identity. The former skeptic who learned the hard way. I got an email from someone who attended one of my talks. She told me last month. She said she'd been doubting her sister's fibromyalgia diagnosis. But after hearing my story, she apologized to her sister and started educating herself. They're rebuilding their relationship now. That's good. It doesn't make up for what I did to you, but it feels like something good came from it. Like maybe your pain and my cruelty helped someone else avoid the same mistake. Maybe. We're not close. Probably never will be as close as we once were. But we're honest with each other now. And that matters more than closeness. Mom asks sometimes if I've forgiven Brittany. She's worked so hard, done everything you asked. Don't you think it's time to let go of the anger? The answer is, I don't know. I'm not angry anymore. But I'm not sure that's the same as forgiveness. What Brittany did was unforgivable. Assaulting a disabled person because you think they're faking is beyond the pale. But Brittany, the person who did that, isn't the same person who sits across from me at coffee now. She's changed, genuinely changed, through education, accountability, and consequence. Is that enough? Is becoming a better person enough to erase what you did as a worse person? I don't have an answer. What I do know is this. I am glad I didn't just accept her apology and move on. I'm glad I demanded consequences. Real consequences that forced her to confront her ignorance and cruelty. Because the easy path would have been to let her say sorry and pretend it never happened. To accept I was drunk or I was stressed as excuses. To go back to family dinners and pretend we were fine. But that wouldn't have changed anything. Brittany would have gone on thinking I was exaggerating, would have continued treating my disability as an inconvenience, would have hurt me again in smaller, quieter ways. Instead, I made her face what she'd done, made her learn, made her grow. And yes, there was satisfaction in watching her sit in support groups listening to patients describe experiences she caused me. In watching her give talks where she had to publicly admit she'd been abusive. In watching her donate money to research for a condition she'd claimed was fake. Was that revenge? Probably. But it was also justice, and education, and protection for the next person who might be called a faker by someone who doesn't understand invisible illness. The video of Brittany pushing me still exists online. It resurfaces occasionally, goes viral in disability advocacy circles, gets shared by chronic pain support groups as an example of ableism within families. I used to hate that. Hated having one of my worst moments preserved forever for strangers to watch and comment on. But now I see it differently. That video has probably educated thousands of people about CURPS, about invisible illness, about the harm caused by accusing someone of faking. If my humiliation prevents someone else from being pushed out of their wheelchair, literally or figuratively, then maybe it was worth it. People ask me sometimes if I would do anything differently, if I would have handled the situation some other way. The answer is no. I set boundaries, demanded accountability, required education, made my sister face real consequences for her actions. And in doing so, I protected myself, protected my dignity, and probably protected other patients from facing the same skepticism and cruelty from her. Brittany pushed me out of my wheelchair because she thought I was faking for attention. She learned painfully and publicly that I was never faking, that CURPS is real, that invisible illness is real, that her sister was suffering while she was busy being jealous. And now she spends her life trying to prevent other families from making the same mistake. That's not forgiveness, but it's something. A weird kind of redemption built on accountability rather than absolution. I still use my wheelchair on bad days, still deal with people staring, still occasionally get asked if I really need that thing. But now, when someone questions my disability, I don't shrink back, don't apologize, don't try to prove myself. I just say, yes, I really need it. I have CURPS. Google it. And if they push further, I tell them about my sister, about what happens when you assume someone is faking, about the consequences of cruelty disguised as skepticism. Most people back off pretty quickly after that. My sister pushed me out of my wheelchair at her engagement party because she thought I was faking my disability for attention. 200 people watched. My neurologist intervened. The video went viral. And I made sure she spent a year learning exactly how wrong she was. Some people think I was too harsh, that a year of volunteer work and public talks was excessive punishment for one drunken mistake. But it wasn't one mistake. It was 2 years of accumulated cruelty that culminated in a moment of violence. And the consequences fit the crime. Brittany destroyed her own engagement, humiliated herself publicly, lost her fiancé, spent a year being forced to confront her ignorance and ableism, all because she couldn't accept that her sister was actually disabled. She earned every single consequence, and I don't regret a single requirement I put in that settlement, because now she's better, and I'm free. Free from her judgment, free from her skepticism, free from trying to prove my pain to someone who refused to believe it. And that freedom is worth more than any apology could ever be. My sister pushed me out of my wheelchair at her engagement party, accusing me of faking my chronic pain condition, until my neurologist witnessed everything and publicly explained my diagnosis to 200 guests. Instead of forgiving her, I pursued a legal settlement requiring her to volunteer with chronic pain organizations and give public talks about invisible illness. My family says I should have just accepted her apology and moved on, but I think she needed to face real consequences for years of calling me a faker. Was I wrong to demand accountability, or did she earn every requirement in that settlement? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. Believe people should face the consequences of their actions. Hit subscribe. I have got more stories of justice that will blow your mind.